Hi Titan Nation, this is Carlos Leija, class of 1991, with my second edition of Cooking with a Titan, Tailgate edition. I was asked to do a rib recipe, which I've been working on over a number of years, and really it's pretty easy to do. I think sometimes people are intimidated, but I think you're going to find today that it's really easy to do. This is a recipe based upon Alton Brown, Who Loves Your Baby Back Ribs, and you can look at that online, but really this is my iteration of that recipe. But you start with a rib rub, and you can buy a rib rub, but I like to make my own. And over time, I would say, perfected it to my taste and what my friends and family with the following ingredients. Starting with brown sugar, you have a half a cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons of chili powder. I use 2 different kinds. So I have another ancho chili powder, 2 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of ground mustard, 1 teaspoon of celery salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So that end is the finished product. It's just I keep some on hand. So obviously this isn't the proportion from what I told you, but this is some that I had on hand. Now, please don't be intimidated by this rib rub. You can make your own, but this is the base that I use, and it's a little sweet, a little tangy, a little salt, with just a touch of heat, and I'll tell you, it works out really well. So you take the rib rub and you get your ribs. Now, people use baby back ribs, they use St. Louis ribs and spare ribs, but I really like the St. Louis. For those of you that don't know the difference with these are pork ribs, and on the side of said pork, you would have at the top, you would have baby back ribs, the St. Louis portion, and then below the spare rib. I like the St. Louis just because of the shape, the size, and they cook, in my opinion, a lot more evenly. You get the rib rub the night before you want to cook these, and you just put the rib rub on both sides, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and you just leave it like that. It really helps the flavor. If you don't do that overnight, you can do that the same day, but I just find that it brings a lot more flavor when you do that. So you'll see the foil. We're going to make foil pouches in just a second. This is a recipe where they steam low and slow in the oven, but you need a simmering liquid. And the one that I put together is beer. I'm just using Foster's, apple cider vinegar, Frank's Red Hot, and Worcestershire in a measuring cup. I also put in like a tablespoon of the rib rub, and you just swirl it, and you just use this as your simmering liquid. And you can do anything you want with the simmering liquid. You can use wine, you can use your own herbs, your own spices for the simmering liquid. This is just the one that I like. If you don't drink or like the taste of beer, you certainly don't have to use that. But really, you're going to need about a half a cup of simmering liquid for each pouch that you're going to make. So you take this and you seal it at the top. And just know that at some point, you just want to create a sealed environment for this, because it's going to steam over the course of 2.5 hours. You leave one side a little bit open so that you can pour in the simmering liquid. And I already started with one over here. Something that's really important, where I made a mistake on this a couple of times, is the integrity of the foil has to be intact. If you have a hole in it, you're going to have a mess. It just needs to not leak. You want to have this all in place. So for this, I'm going to take and pour it into one and the other. And then you just seal it up loosely, because this is where you're going to open it from when they're done. Just pinch it tight there, and then you go over to your preheated 250-degree oven. And then that's it for 2.5 hours. Now, don't open it, just leave it alone. It's going to be fine. In 2.5 hours, the meat's going to come back a little bit from the bone, and they're going to be able to be cut apart. And then what I'll show you is we're going to go outside to the grill, and we're going to crisp them up. And I'm going to show you how perfect this is for a tailgate party, because you're going to be able to cook these in individual portions for your guests. So that's it for right now. And then when we go out to the grill, I'm also going to cook on the side burner a real special Super Bowl Sunday dip that you're not going to want to miss. While the ribs are in the oven, I thought I'd get started on the Super Bowl chili dip. So I've been making this for a long, long time, and a tailgate party or the Super Bowl wouldn't be the same without this dip. So I've started, and I've done this for so many times with just these 4 ingredients. The 2 cups of sharp cheddar, the cream cheese, the 2 cans of chili with no beans, and the diced green chilies. But if you know Jessica Rowland in Alumni Engagement, she and her family add sausage, that evil genius family. So I'm gonna put all this together and I'll show you what it looks like. So I have the chili dip all put together, so I thought I would show it to you here and then give you some little tips about doing this at a tailgate. So this is the way the chili dip looks, all incorporated. And I'll have to say the sausage is absolutely incredible in there. We'll do a little stir on there and you can see that it's all incorporated and it is absolutely fantastic. So let's see how this is. Jessica, you were right about the sausage. So when you're tailgating, you want to, this really should be served warm. So you can get yourself one of these, and they're really inexpensive. I got mine at a place called 99 Ranch Market. You can get them online. They're little burners with the little container there, the cartridge with propane, little push down, locks it into place, close it, it turns on here, nice little flame, and it'll heat up any chili dip or anything else you want to do on the side while you're out in the parking lot tailgating. So we're going to take the ribs outside and get them crisped up. Let's go. Okay, it's been 2.5 hours. I just carefully took the ribs, the tray with the ribs out of the oven, and I've taken them over to the stove, and I've set it up so that I can get these cut up for the tailgate. Now, really, really careful here. Either you wait and let them cool down for a while, or you open these up very careful because there's going to be steam that is going to come out and you don't want to burn yourself. For the tailgate party, what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to cut them into bites that are easily managed. And you see how that just really was easy to cut. And you take them and you transfer them over and you just do the same. You can find the meat and just cut. And you can see that's just really, really easy to cut. But one of the things, point that was pointed out to me earlier, you got to make sure you use heavy duty foil with these, or else the lightweight foil isn't going to work. Also, with this, you can also do an Asian rub using different spices, Asian spices, and it comes out absolutely incredible. So then lastly, when you get everything transferred into your container, you put the simmering liquid on them, you put the lid on them, and then after it cools, and you can take them to the tailgate party. Or like what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take them right out to the grill and we're going to get started. You can see right here, this is what the ribs look like, just sitting in the simmering liquid that we carefully poured from the foil, heavy duty foil, onto the ribs. So what I did was I went ahead and I put some of these on. That's what I was talking about getting them crispy in the char. And it only takes about 5 minutes per side. I have it on medium to high heat, but you can see that's the crisp in the char that you want to get. So I've had this turned over for a little bit already, and you can see that this one is just totally ready to go. These are just delicious. So I'm going to take a little bite. Tender, perfect. You'll be a hit at your tailgate party, or just at home, or for a dinner party. Pair this with beer, a nice red, or just it's good to go. So that's about it. And thanks a lot, everyone. And thanks to the Alumni Association, Alumni Engagement, for creating this platform to share just some fun and outlet during this really crazy time. Take care.
Hello, my name is Rafael Salazar, Cal State Fullerton alumnus class of 2010. I'm going to be making a few of my favorite homecoming tailgating goodies.
Now, what is a tailgate party without party wings? That's right. I'm going to be making some party wings instead of putting them in the fryer or the air fryer. Simply going to put them into the oven. If you've watched my videos in the past, you'll know that the oven, frankly, is my favorite tool in the kitchen. So simple, easy party wings. Okay, so over here we have about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, about a pound to about a pound and a half of party wings, a little variety. You have 1 tablespoon of orange juice, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of ponzu sauce, or if you don't have ponzu sauce, you can use soy sauce. Over here we have a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. Now you'll notice I don't have any salt here. You are welcome to use salt. However, the ponzu, soy sauce, whatever you decide to use, is already quite salty, so I think it's unnecessary. However, everybody has a different palate. Everybody has a different taste. Go ahead and throw in a pinch of salt in there as well, okay? So first thing we're gonna do, we gotta mix together our ingredients, right? Once the wings are completely covered in this sauce, we're gonna let them rest for a little while. The longer they sit, the more the wings will kind of absorb that flavor. You can go 24 hours if you want. It's completely up to you. 1 hour for me. Just put a little bit of saran wrap on them and set them aside until they're ready to go into the oven. There we go. So let's go ahead and set them aside. And we can go ahead and start preheating the oven at 375 degrees. So now I've given my wings some time to marinate. It's time to set them up on our tray and get them ready to go into the oven. Excellent. So let's go ahead, pop these into the oven and check in on them in about 15 to 20 minutes. So let's take a look after approximately 15 minutes in the oven. These bad boys are looking pretty good. But as you can see, nice, tender, juicy. These wings are perfect. 15 minutes in the oven. Now, what is a tailgating party without jalapeno poppers? That's right. One of my favorite tailgating treats is jalapeno poppers. So let me start off with the ingredients. As you can see here, we've got 6 pretty hefty sized jalapenos, right? Bigger than my palm. We've got 4 ounces of cream cheese, which is usually about half a package of your favorite cream cheese from the grocery store. We've got 3 ounces of your favorite shredded soft cheese. So I've got a combination here of mozzarella and sharp cheddar here. We've got ricotta cheese, 2 ounces, about 3 tablespoons. So not a lot, just to add a little bit of taste there. You have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and of course your bacon. You can't have jalapeno poppers if they're not bacon wrapped. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's go ahead and mix all of our ingredients together. Go. Next, we're gonna want to move to the jalapenos here. A lot of times people will just cut them right down the middle, have 2 halves. Rather than taking it all the way down, I'm gonna start and give myself a little corner there, right? And instead of cutting it all the way to the end, I'm gonna take off that little piece right there, all right? So we're left to the stem, we still have both halves, right? We wanna take those seeds out. Taking out all the seeds here. And make sure you keep the tops together, okay? Once you have all those jalapenos de-seeded and opened up, we're gonna take our stuffing here, and just with a tablespoon again, you want to stuff these as best as you can. Now you want these things to be full, but probably not overstuffed, because ultimately you want this to be able to close right back into itself just like so. See, look at that. Stuffed. And now for the bacon. So pretty big jalapeno, right? We're gonna do our best. I mean, we wrap hot dogs all the time, right? Just kind of wrap it within itself as best as you can. And then we're gonna transfer this over to a baking sheet. Now we'll be putting these into the oven about 375 degrees. It only takes about 15 to 20 minutes. Doesn't take too long. Ultimately, what you want to do is make sure that the bacon is fully cooked, nice and crisp to your liking. Now, after about 20 minutes, these jalapeno poppers are just about to my liking. So that, my friends, is how we make jalapeno poppers, or at least that's how I make jalapeno poppers. We're going to start off with 2 cups or 350 grams of flour if you've got a skillet at home. We have 250 milliliters of water, or 245 grams. Over here, we have a 1 1/4 teaspoons or 5 grams of yeast. Now, typically you can buy the little packs, paper pouches of yeast at the grocery store. They're usually about double that size. You can use half of one of those packs, or you can even use the whole pack. It'll still be good. It'll still work. So don't worry about that. We have 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of sugar. Over here, we have 1 tablespoon or about 15 grams of oil. And with the oil, you really can't go wrong. I personally prefer to use olive oil when I'm cooking. You can replace the olive oil for butter. That'll work as well. Or you can even use, corn oil or canola oil or, whatever oil you prefer. But I personally prefer to stick to olive oil. And then finally, generally about a pinch of salt. It's about 3/4 teaspoons or 7 grams of salt. Now, you can start by adding all the ingredients. You put the yeast in, all right? Now, what's important is when you add, you can add the sugar. The sugar helps the yeast to kind of feed, to kind of grow, to kind of develop. But when you're adding the salt, you really want to make sure that the salt stays away from the yeast, because the salt will essentially kill the yeast. So you don't want to put the salt right on top of it, okay? You're going to want to mix it together. It'll be all right. But going in, don't put it right on top of the yeast, right? Right. So I have a little bit of oil over here, just enough to put it on my hands. Nothing too crazy. And again, if you'd prefer, if you insist, you can get a little flour, put it on your work surface. And let's get that dough out. Roll it between your palm and the workbench. And it's just really to incorporate, all the ingredients, get everything really mixed in and start to develop that, that gluten. But you're going to want to be able to stretch out the dough to a point where it looks a little translucent without it, before it starts to rip and tear. So this dough is pretty close. It's pretty close to being done. Consistency is pretty nice. It's looking pretty good. So kind of tuck it into itself. And we're going to let it rest in just a second. I'm going to put a little bit more oil into it. I'm going to spread it out so that the dough doesn't necessarily stick. Put this in there, cover it in oil, saran wrap it, and put it in a nice warm area that doesn't have a breeze. So just put it straight onto your dough, just like that. It's, to keep the breeze from hitting it, and also preventing the dough itself to get a little like thin, dry crust. You don't really want that for your pizza dough. So as you can see, straight into the oven. Oven is not turned on, so don't turn it on. You can leave your oven lights on, and that's about it. And it just needs to sit there for roughly an hour to 2 hours. So at this point, our pizza dough has risen for about an hour and a half, but as you'll see, it has just about doubled in size. Now let's get this bad boy out of here. Go ahead and grab your knife and just divide the dough in half. And all you're really gonna do, you don't have to manage it that much anymore, is kind of fold it into itself. Just a little bit. Or if that doesn't work for you, just kind of use your thumbs to kind of pinch it shut. Just kind of stretch it into itself. And I can show you that with the other one. Put a little bit of flour on it. And we're gonna set it aside. We'll get the other one again. All right. So, got my tray. Put a little bit of flour. Set that down. Same thing with this one. Set that down. And this second rise really isn't going to take very long. In fact, you can even start preheating your oven. And for pizza, you want your oven as hot as you can get it, 450 degrees if you can get it up there. You really want a very hot oven if you can, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover them with a little tea towel. That's it, just like that. And again, try to keep it nice and tight. It's only gonna be 15-20 minutes. It'll take you that long to kind of preheat the oven anyway. So I'm going to be using one of my pizza trays. I have one here. I do like to use parchment paper on my pizza tray. That is when I'm not using the pizza stone. Again, that little dough. If you want to use cornmeal, I know that I hear that the pros like to use cornmeal. All right, starting from the middle, kind of straight. Oh, I hear the oven. Kind of stretching it out. If you're not comfortable doing that, just laying it down flat and just kind of, oh man, look at those bubbles. Just kind of stretching it out. Now, if you don't like those little bubbles that kind of pop up, I know you see it when you order pizza for takeout or whatever. You get those bubbles. You can just pop them if you want. I'm going to be sticking to a very basic cheese and pepperoni pizza today. The kids like it simple, so I'm going to keep it simple. And that's it. We've already heard the oven go off. The cheese and pepperoni pizza is ready to go in, minus the little cheese slice for my daughter. Let's get it in the oven. There we go. Center rack. Cheese and pepperoni. 10 to 15 minutes. We'll check on it shortly. Right, so our pizza was in that oven for about 15 minutes. Look at that thing. Man, if I could tell you how delicious it smells in my house right now. There we go. Look at that. Easy, simple, and pizza.
Well, that wraps it up for Cooking with a Titan Stay at Homecoming edition. So I hope you enjoyed the recipes that we presented to you today. If you want to learn other recipes, you can check our YouTube page, the Titan Alumni Cooking with a Titan series, where we have a number of other recipes presented to you by other Cal State Fullerton alumni. And also check out the alumni website on alumni.fullerton.edu, where you can check out other virtual events coming in the near future. If you haven't checked out Dinner with 12 Titans, that's a good one to check out. But anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.